warm, or at least weather where I can be outside. It's a beautiful, beautiful, crisp fall day. So I decided I would step out and do the live from outside rather than from inside the apartment. And it got me thinking, as things normally do, about fall. And it's the time, it's a weather that I love. It is crisp and beautiful and sharpness in the air, and everything just looks a little bit brighter. But I remember till a few years back, every time when fall would come in, I would start feeling a little low. I would start feeling a little lonely. I would start feeling very alone. And I thought, you know what, I'm a creature of the sun. I love bright light. And in winters, as you know, in the US, the days get really short. So I thought it was the light that was affecting me. Until I actually went deeper in meditation and realized where that was coming from. And I had come to the country many, many years back, nearly 20 years back. And it was fall. I'd come here to study. And of course, semesters begin in fall. And I remember coming to a new country, not really knowing anybody. I felt alone. I felt lonely. And it's crazy. I started associating fall with loneliness. And for the longest time, that is what was in my head in terms of fall equal to loneliness. And every time fall would come year after year, that is what would get triggered for me. That, oh, there's a little bit of a loneliness, there's a little of loneliness that is coming in for me. And so it got me thinking today, because it is fall, is how important memory is for us. You know, I was speaking to a friend of mine earlier this week, and someone in her family, her aunt, is going through Alzheimer's. And she was talking about how tough it is because she doesn't even recognize her own children. And of course, she recognizes what had happened many, many years back, but not really what has happened in the last few years. And it got me thinking about how important memory is. You know, without memory, we can't really move. You know, so many times you may not know where we've kept our keys or kept our wallet. And it goes back to, of course, awareness, but also memory. And yet, this can be a double-edged sword, right? It can work for us or it may not work for us. And the question today is, are we trapped by our memory? We need it. It's an important tool. We cannot move without it. We need the sharpness of it. But is it also coming in our way? Are we looking at the present constantly through the lens of the past? And I'll give you an example. Often, now memories can be of two types, right? Like memories can be, it's a very pleasant memory. I went out somewhere, traveled, ate an amazing meal, and guess what happens? Let's say I went to an amazing country, right? And the next time I go for a vacation, I want to replicate the same experience. It's a different country, it's a different, bunch of people, it's a completely different experience. But what does my memory crave for? That really amazing experience that I had in my previous vacation. And every time I look at something, I'm constantly comparing. And this did happen to me. You know, one of the most memorable vacations that I had was in Egypt. And this was much before the problems began. And for those of you who've been to Egypt, it's an amazing country, right? It's like an open air museum. Everything is 5,000 years old. It is spectacular and blows your mind. And I remember going to another country, which I will not name after that, and things were not as old. They must have been like 200, 300, 400 years old, 500 years old. And I kept comparing in my head. I'm like, oh my God, it's not like Egypt. It's not a few thousand years old. Like as if it had to be much, much older for me to appreciate it. And yeah, I didn't really enjoy that vacation because I was constantly comparing. Because I wanted that experience of Egypt that I had, which I loved. And that did not let me enjoy the present that I was going through. Right? So a lot of time, even when we have a very pleasant memory because we want it and we constantly compare the present moment that we're in with the past memory, we can't really see the preciousness of the moment, how unique it is, how different it is, and appreciate it for what it is. And of course, if it's an unpleasant memory, right? Somebody said something to us, we can't let it go. The next time you see that person on the outside, you might pretend like, oh my God, I'm over it, I'm so even keel, I'm centered. But inside something triggers. Are you completely natural in front of that person? Are you easygoing? Have you truly let it go? It's fascinating for me to watch even like family dynamics, right? People might have said something to us years back, and you will see that a lot of times in relationships they'll be like, oh, so and so was so mean to me 30 years back when I just got married and came into the family. It was 30 years back, but the memories lodged onto it and just cannot let it go. And guess what? That memory is triggering every interaction that you're having with that person or people around. Is that a smart thing to do? I know we have memory for a reason. It's important that you recognize, if a person is being nasty again and again, or if there's a lesson or a pattern you need to break, it really serves. But how do you learn the lesson and drop the emotion or the hook that the memories had with that event or that person? And I think that is something for us to think about. Are we truly looking at the present for what it is? Are we looking at a situation exactly for what it is? Or are we looking at it from the baggage of the past that our memory is carrying? Is your memory, how much of your memory is carrying baggage? That's the first question. It could be positive or negative. Or are you moving about in life a little bit light with not much of baggage? And one of the only ways I've seen for us to drop this baggage is through meditation, is through breathing. Sorry, there's a lot of noise here because I think people are also mowing the lawn and cleaning up the leaves. So I don't know whether you guys can hear me really well. If you are, just let me know so I can see that you guys can hear me. So one of the things to think about this week is, how much of the past are you carrying? Good, bad, ugly, doesn't really matter. And how can you learn from it? How can you maybe even be grateful for it, but not carry it into every interaction? Can you see the moment for what it is, which is fresh, unique, new? You are new, the other person is new, the place is new. How do you just let it go? And if you're not being able to do that, then just know that it's time to kind of rewire the brain and the mind a little bit, and the only way to do that is through meditation. So I'm just going to pause over there and see if you have any questions. I am not sure about my connection to today. I see a few people, but I can't really make out what's happening because my connection's a little bit weak. Any questions? So if there aren't any questions, then have a great week. Look forward and don't look and don't drive your car, as Gurudev says, looking at the rear view mirror, which is what the memory is. You've got to look in the front, look ahead, and definitely have a little bit as small as a rear view mirror to see what has happened in the past and what you can learn from it. Okay, so on that, I will leave you. Enjoy this beautiful, beautiful weekend, which is a perfect fall weekend, and I'll see you again next Friday. Bye.